Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining our AI at Your Service webinar session. I'll be your host. My name is Clara Boulanger, and I work on a marketing team here at Coveo. And I'm really excited, to be a part of today's session. I'm also thrilled to be joined by our speaker, Neil Kostecki. He's a senior product manager here at Coveo for Salesforce. I have a couple of housekeeping items to cover quickly before we get started. So first, everyone is in listen-only mode. However, we do want to hear from you during today's presentation. We'll be answering questions at the end of the session, so please feel free to send those along using the Q&A section on your screen. Today's webinar is being recorded, and you'll receive the presentation within 24 hours of the conclusion of the event. Finally, there will be a brief survey at the end of this session. Please help us improve future webinars by providing your feedback on the webinar content and experience. For those of you just joining us, welcome to our AI at Your Service webinar session. Now, let's get started. Neil, please take it away.
Thanks very much, Clara. Yes, hi, my name is Neil Kostecki, and I am a Senior Product Manager on our Salesforce line of business. I'm happy to be here for the first of this digital experience webinar series. In today's session, we're going to talk to you about AI at your service. So we're really talking about improving customer support at every interaction and how AI fits into this piece. How we're going to frame this is we're going to cover 3 myths that are commonly perceived about AI and sort of break these down and make it a little more down to earth and factual. So these are the 3 myths. Let's dive into the first one here and talk about why AI and ML are, not the same thing. So there's this myth that AI and ML are this interchangeable, subject or thing that you can go and just implement an AI strategy. We're just going to add AI and we're going to, solve the problems that exist in our organization. And that, AI or ML, doesn't matter which one you use, you're talking about the same thing. Well, in reality, ML is an application of, when we talk about AI, of course, artificial intelligence, and ML being machine learning. So what we're talking about when we talk about AI is a larger picture. ML is a subset of that. It's an application of that intelligence. And AI is really about trying to be successful at doing something. It doesn't really care about the accuracy of doing that thing, and that's where machine learning comes in. Machine learning is about data, and it's about doing something based on that data in a very accurate way, performing a task that it's learned from. AI is about solving really complex problems, and there's various different ways to do that and different technologies that can be used. But again, machine learning, and that's something that we employ here at Coveo, is learning from data and maximizing performance on a specific task. So really just to kind of start the conversation around what these 2 things are, and let's dig in a little bit more here. So AI contains things like ability to do personalization, perception. So if you think about the way that we see the world and experience it, so things like optical character recognition, image recognition, being able to understand the things that are perceived, and then you've also got automated reasoning, which allows that concept of AI that can just answer any question and essentially think on its own, right? We're getting to a level here where we're trying to create something that has that that AI intelligence to decide on its own reasoning, and then of course robotics as well. So these are different types of AI, and to show you where we started, back in 2015, we implemented machine learning to provide AI-powered relevance. So really about providing an experience in search that goes beyond keyword search, identifying paths and correlations between the way people search, the keywords that they use, and returning content that directly relates to that. So understanding that journey. In 2016, we moved on to more intelligent recommendations. So understanding people that viewed certain things in the same session and being able to recommend those similar items. In 2017, on to personalization. In 2018, we focused on unified interactions and using all of these activities, these signals, to unify the experience across those different touch points. And in 2019, where we are today, is we're really talking about personalization at a level where you can deliver 1 million experiences for 1 million people. So extreme personalization, really understanding your users and providing each one of them an experience that's tailored to them. Second myth, AI is the future and not a reality. I mean, this is clearly, if we look at the statement from IDC, service is going to see the biggest investment in AI this year at $4.5 billion. This is just an absolutely massive amount of money, and it's a clear statement that AI is happening right now. You need to invest in it. If you don't have a strategy around AI, it's definitely something you need to be thinking about. There's various statistics that we can reference to kind of prove this out as well. And there's reasons that the industry needs to adopt AI. For example, increasing case volumes. We have a number of different channels and ways that people interact, and therefore we have more cases and more interactions coming in, and we need to be able to handle that volume. We need to be able to understand, what someone's doing on all those different channels. Of course, digital transformation is an absolute necessary. And when we talk about digital transformation, we like to talk about relevance transformation, bringing that experience, the personalized relevant experience that you expect to all of those different channels. It's really about understanding your customer at a really unique, specific way. And as far as proliferation of AI, the numbers really here are 143% over the next 18 months. And this is, in a general sense, but, we're seeing this through a very, bunch of different paths. And as far as how you can get to that and understand and reimagine the service experience, just to talk about some tangible ways that we're seeing this is, first off, augmenting agent intelligence. So you have agents that are trying to service customers. They need the tools and the information at their fingertips to be able to help that customer. They need to understand what that customer has been through, and this is where AI is able to help. Delivering relevance, delivering results in the context of your customer's persona. So again, understanding who that person is and the attributes about them, to deliver them content that makes sense for them, that other users have used. Increasing engagement through experiences that are relevant. Everyone on the call here has probably used something like Netflix or Amazon. These are experiences that that are sticky. They're something that you get pulled into, and that's AI is able to give that level of engagement and that level of experience that people expect. And fourth, what we're starting to see from our customers quite a lot now is this desire for providing contextual support inside of their own software, their own cloud-based applications, right where customers are working. And that's really something that AI and machine learning are able to provide. When we talk about machine learning at Coveo, the types of models that we use are these three. So we offer query suggestions, which you could go by a second name of the type ahead. So it's really about what have people searched for before and what has proven to have positive results, resulted in them finding the thing that they're looking for. So we're providing the user leading them down a path so that they are not searching for something that's kind of on the fringe or is not going to return good results. We're leading them towards the good content. And then, of course, when they do that query, we're looking at what did people click on and what was the helpful document at the end of that session, and how did they get there? What were the queries that they used? Finding the path along the way, and therefore shortening that the second time so someone doesn't search and they find that content right away. And then recommendations is really about what did people look at in that same session? What did people previously view together? And drawing correlations so that when, let's say you're looking at a knowledge article or piece of documentation, we can propose content that is supporting, that is related to that content. And so these are the three types of models that we offer. And just to give you kind of a visual to understand, where these fit in, this is an example actually right from our own community, and you can see the query suggest here. So users typing MA, we're proposing some suggestions to that user, and it goes a bit deeper than that, and I'll go into that a bit more. But this is the type of experience that you want to give to your users. Of course, once they've done that search for machine learning, you want to propose results that are highly relevant and not just based on, the number of keywords that happens to meet. They're really looking for something that's meaningful. So this is not just based on, popularity, but based on successful outcomes. So we're for example, drawing correlation between keywords that might not actually be in the content. That's really important for an organization who doesn't necessarily know exactly how to write content that's going to meet every customer's need. It allows you to understand and provide content in context to however your customers are describing it. And finally, when we move on to recommendations, it's really about, this content here is also relevant. So, keeping people engaged, essentially doing a search for them before they even think about it. They're looking at something and it might not be the right thing. Here's their opportunity to disengage. Well, what we're doing is we're giving them another piece of information that's going to lead them down the path to the right content. So here's an example inside of our Salesforce Lightning console. And what's really interesting that we're doing here is, of course, you've got your relevance and your query suggest available here. But additionally, inside of the Lightning console, we're using something called intelligent term detection to extract high-value keywords out of the large blocks of text. So in this case, the subject and description. So we're looking at all the correlation between all those words, and previous cases that have been opened and what we've learned from those other cases. And we're able to extract and identify those high value keywords or even phrases, and rate those in order of relevance, and then use that to provide automatic recommendations. So you can see on the right side, the recommended results are coming up due to the identification of those terms. And this is automatic, so an agent opens a case, they have results right there, and this is going to get better over time. There we go. So really, what you're looking to do is, of course, make it a great search so that you're driving agent adoption through reliable search. Of course, agents are only going to use a tool if it's giving them what they need. You're going to improve collaboration by encouraging agents to use the content that's available, and seek out to create new content if it's not available, or request new information. So having everything at your fingertips enables you to make the assessment that the information you're looking for is maybe not there. And of course, improving case close rate. So making these agents proficient so that the second they start on day one, they have the information they need and they can help customers. In the community, it's about providing relevance right from the very beginning. So as soon as you land on the community, providing trending queries, popular documents, giving an engaging experience that's relevant to the things, the products that they own, and the attributes of the user, and starting the experience from the very beginning. Of course, when they do a search, giving them those relevant results with a rich user interface, and having the ability to make those results dynamic. It's really about content discovery through search. Once they move into needing to contact support, you of course also want to leverage everything that's happened on the search page, all the searches and clicks, and so we're able to translate that over here as the user's entering information to recommend, and actually use the same technology, the intelligent term detection that's being used inside the console is being used here. So we're extracting, could be a paragraph of text that the customer's written. We're able to identify the most valuable keywords and return great results. In product is, again, something that is very interesting. We're seeing a lot of interest in building this out and bringing a relevant experience directly into various customer products in context to what the user's doing. So here I am on a dashboard, show me information related to that. And so the goal here is really to bring the experience directly into the workflow, give the relevance and the query suggest that you expect, as well as any rich information that we can influence using that, using what we've learned from the interactions of the customer. So of course, with that improved experience, you're going to drive increased traffic. You're going to have less people needing to go out and do a search on Google to find your support page to then get into your support experience. You can have them hooked directly in your software straight to your content. And of course, it's going to improve your retention and adoption of your own software. So it's really important to leverage this kind of strategy in order to connect everything, right? Have the same experience inside your product as I'm going to have inside your community, and use all this information to, like I mentioned, augment the agent's intelligence and provide them the information they need to know on how a customer is interacting across these different points. So the third myth is about the types of models. And there's this assumption that machine learning is just, machine learning, we'll turn it on, it's going to do this, one thing, it'll work the same on, different places, and it's not that simple. One way we like to frame up how we use machine learning is this formula of content plus context plus intent is equal to relevance. And just from a basic sense, if we break that down, you have an ecosystem of information across many different repositories and different systems. You want to bring all that together, of course, secure it and unify it, make it available in a single search. You also need to know what information about the user, attributes, the different profile and information of where they're located, the products they have, the entitlements they have, whatever information, valuable information you have about the user. Plus, what is that user doing? Where are they? Where have they been? What is the the user? What can we draw from the way they've browsed, the way they've connected with these different interfaces? They're on a case deflection page. We know that they're looking to submit a case. We can start to presume some things about them. And then, of course, you add all these things together and we analyze that information using machine learning, and we can drive relevance based on data. So we understand all of this activity, we compute it, and we can provide what that person needs. So just to break it down a little bit more, when we talk about context, we're talking about the user profile, the persona of that person. Where are they from? What products do they own? What's their user role and department? And these are just examples, but this is going to be very specific to various industries, various companies. There's going to be things that are explicitly known about the user. There's also going to be things that are implicit. And so the more information we know about the user, the better we can tailor the experience. So it's definitely important to have a strategy around what's important to relevance for your users. For example, it might be important that you know the device I own, but maybe regardless where where I'm geolocated in your particular use case, it doesn't make a difference to the content. But in another area, maybe in another industry, location could mean the difference between different different laws or processes, things that are related to that. And so it's how these things interact is going to be unique to your business. Additionally, there's all different types of signals that are going to help us understand the intent of the user, their history and if they've converted, different types of search events, of course, and the content they've clicked on and consumed, how have they filtered or submitted or not submitted cases. And all this information that we get from the experience can then infer intent, and we can start to look at where does this user fall into user segmentation, what kind of, are they an admin, are they a developer, are they based on your business, what type of users do you have? We can derive that from behavior. We can start to influence the relevance of results or suggest queries. And of course, we can close content gaps. So content gaps become something that, of course you can track through analytics, but machine learning is able to actually identify where a gap exists and make a correlation to close that. And other things as well, facet value suggestion or identifying issues that are new and trending. All of these things we can derive from the data. So it's really about having good data, good context, and then taking the intent and really turning that around into something that we can action. And if you think about it as a simple loop here, really what you've got is a user interacting with an interface, whether that's search or recommendations or any type of search-based experience. We're tracking those unified interactions into usage analytics, and machine learning ingests that information and can draw conclusions to then influence the experience the next time. So we're taking that context intent, we're bringing that in, we're getting the information as to where they've interacted and how they've interacted, and then we're using that information to improve the relevance the next time around. Sorry. So what's key here is that usage analytics is the foundation. So without usage analytics, without the information from your users, machine learning is just a model that's waiting for data. So you really need to have a good foundation of analytics and a way to ingest and analyze that, and that's what machine learning is all about. Without the analytics, you really can't identify the insights, the things that your business users are doing, and you really need to have this data available and easily accessible to the machine learning and to the platform. So having it all in a single place, of course, is ideal. And you need to be able to, in some cases, make changes to ensure that your KPIs that you're tracking towards are being achieved. You need a way to be able to do things like A/B testing, to add additional context or to remove context. And in some cases, you need to be able to send as many contexts as makes sense and let the machine learning identify which are most effective. So these are all things that that can be done once you have the raw data. And so once you have the platform to do it, you need to have a strategy on how to implement. And this is key. I mean, you can take machine learning and just throw it at a problem, but I don't think, of course, you're going to get the right outcome if you haven't identified what it is you're trying to solve. Like, what is the expected outcome that you want? And so the very first thing you need to do is identify and align on those KPIs. What is it you're trying to improve? Not we need to have machine learning, and now machine learning's on, and we're all done. It's about okay, we need to increase engagement, or we need to improve the ability for case deflection, drive down the number of cases, improve agent handle time. All of these things are related and are things that of course are important to your business. So you need to identify which ones you're tracking. You need to know where your benchmarks are. So as a second point, you've identified the KPIs. You're going to aim to improve them, but where are you at and where do you want to go? So it's important to assess your current state and have a baseline. And third, you want to look at one use case. So of course, you turn machine learning on everywhere and hope for the best, but I think it's really important to have a good base. Of course, there's a good base of relevance when you initially implement, and you should have a good relevance from the start. Once you're ready and at a point that you have the amount of usage analytics and activity that you need to turn on ML, you really want to focus, I think, in one area and analyze and kind of watch what to see if you're getting the expected results that you're looking for. And of course, you have the tools available to you to analyze and look at those things, to make changes if needed. And assuming that you're seeing the progress and the impacts that you expect, as a next step, you want to share that information. You want to share that success. You want to say, like this is what we did. This is what we aim to do, and this is working, right? And really show that it's not just this isn't just another search tool. This is really a platform that's going to provide the ability for us to better understand and provide people what they need. And of course, just repeat that. So you've implemented, let's say, the experience for agents, and it's working well, and you're seeing continuous improvement. You want to move on to building that out into maybe your community, let's say. And then finally, once you have all your different touch points enabled with machine learning and you're seeing success, looking at how those different signals and contexts can actually, number one, unify across the journey. So be able to, for example, use the inputs that you're seeing from your in-product support to influence the experience and the relevance that you see on your community, or use what's been learned from your customers to help agents. And use this information as well to try and drive a better and holistic customer experience across all your different departments. So this is the plan, and this is the way that you want to approach implementing AI and machine learning. I think we obviously, of course, have the platform to enable this. And on that note, if you want to start, if you're ready to start, next steps towards a more intelligent self-service, you're looking to improve what you've got. This is a self-service journey map that you can download. So if you want to visit the link here, this will give you the information you need to get started. And on that note, again, it is a webinar series, so we have a couple more sessions coming up. Clara, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yes, thank you, Neil. So, as Neil said, this webinar today is part of a bigger webinar series on debunking the AI myths. So, we do have two other sessions coming up in the next 2 weeks. So, next week on June 18, we have AI and how we buy. So, the application will focus on commerce and websites. And then the week after that, we have AI and the nature of work on June 25th. And this will cover more intranet and employee intranets. So please feel free to register at the link that you see here. It should be an interesting series. So Neil, I think we covered everything for today, and we'll be ready for a Q&A. So I also like to introduce another colleague of ours, Olivier Bonneau, who is also product manager, more focused on machine learning here at Coveo. So he'll be assisting Neil in answering any questions that you may have. So now is a good time to type in your questions in the control panel, and he'll be able to offer another perspective on your different questions. So I'll start with the first question that we have. So, is there a pre-trained model in Coveo for videos or facial recognition?
No, there's not a pre-trained model for videos or facial recognition. This is something that is sort of beyond the typical use case that we see. But what I would say is that one thing that we do offer is what we call extensions, indexing pipeline extensions, and what that allows you to do is to plug in additional specific use case based types of models, like for example, facial recognition, or let's say video transcription or something along those lines, and that can be done at the time of indexing. So what that means is while you're adding a source that contains video content, you can apply some additional intelligence that's going to help fill out the concepts of the video or the transcription or the metadata. And of course, there's many different APIs and algorithms out there that can be plugged in. Olivier, I don't know if you want to add anything on that, but that would be my take on it.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much spot on. The only thing I would add to this is that we could use output from third-party AI services such as image classification, video classification, speech analysis, and so on, and use at runtime pretty much output of these services as augmented information for our query engine. So we can make all of that work all together using our API. I mean, it's pretty much out of the box for us. So that would be the only thing I would add to this.
Perfect.
Thank you both for the response. We have another question here. So, how many staff are required or recommended to monitor the real-time data and adjust the ML models? What kind of skills do they need?
I mean, go ahead.
Go ahead, Neil. Yeah, no. I mean, you mean how many people in your company you would need to support Coveo deployment? Clara, is it what he's been asking?
I think mostly to see what would be recommended if you want to monitor real-time data and adjust the ML model. I think
I mean, overall, I would say the platform does that. We give the ability to, the models are transparent, so you can see the types of candidates, the documents, let's say, that are being, or the queries that are being learned, or the top documents that could be, the top queries that could return documents. You can see the amount of data that's being ingested, searches, queries, clicks. You can see the context, so the number of items that's been learned to a particular context. There's not a lot of management required. I would say more so it's a matter of understanding what you want the outcome of your model to be and of course testing to see if that's, you know, and monitoring to see if that's what's happening. And then using, you know, we have A/B testing, so you can do model testing real time in the platform to compare results with one model against another, where you've maybe made some subtle changes to the data set or the context that you're sending to see the impact. But I don't think you really need you know, a team of people. That's the whole point of you know, how we've built machine learning. It's
Usually,
to be on autopilot almost.
And
yeah.
just
Usually,
sorry, I
sorry,
just
Claire.
want to say that the
Yeah.
person that asked the question just specified that yes, to adopt our solution, how many people do we need, and what skills do they require? Just to specify.
Yeah, I mean, usually the stakeholder for a Coveo deployment that, you know, that includes machine learning and it includes indexing or search API and everything that revolve around our offering. Uh, Most of the time, it's only one person that's going to be in charge of that. Let's say the digital experience manager will be, like Neil say, I mean, the platform is there as the big tool to help you out, to have a good understanding on what is the status of your current relevancy in your different domain. Are you having a content gap and so on? So beside the technical implementation of it, which could require professional services or a couple of developers to make sure that all your website is being properly monitored from a, you know, monthly standpoint. It's you know, one person's job. I mean, even with our bigger deployment in which me and Neil are involved are involved a lot, no more, I would say, you know, one or two people usually, and it's not a full-time job. It's just making sure everything is working fine.
So to
Yeah,
add
I mean, of
on,
course.
sorry, to add
Sorry,
on that, that person says that basically once we adopt Coveo, we would only need the users of the system to make business systems and conduct A/B testing, etc.
Yeah, I mean, there are multiple different personas inside the platform. So we do, of course, have customers that have, you know, larger teams of people. There are, just to give you a couple kind of roles, you have, of course, administrators who have the capability to do everything inside of the platform, you know, make changes to the experience, add new content, you know, set the permissions for other users. You have a, I would say, a permission of a, you know, a relevance manager who maybe is not an administrator of the system, but is just going to tune and manage the, you know, the experience in search. You know, things like thesaurus entries and top results, and you know, really just caring about the relevance. And then you know, you might have reporting people who are interested from a reporting perspective. So those are, I would say, the three kind of personas that we usually see. And again, like Olivier said, it really depends on the implementation and the organization, how many users they want to have involved.
Yeah, but bottom line, it's not a full department that needs to be involved. Let's get that clear. Usually, let's say one or two person part time, just to make sure everything is working fine. And we offer a CSM, customer success manager service, which will help you guys. I mean, they can have like monthly meeting with you, just to overview and be your first point of contact for any questions or improvement you would like.
Great, thank you both. We do have a couple other questions. So, if we invest heavily in Salesforce and use Salesforce Cloud as a platform for customer self-service, what's the difference between something like Salesforce Einstein and Coveo machine learning?
So overall, I would say, you know, Einstein is about automation. It's about, you know, your customer data and making, you know, making predictions or automating things based on that customer data. And where we see, you know, where Coveo is investing in, it's all around content and relevance. You know, so as far as is there overlap, I don't really think there is. There's definitely opportunities where we see collaboration. For example, we just in our spring release, we released an implementation or an integration into Einstein bots. So I don't think it's a consideration of one or the other. I think it's, what applications, what problems are you trying to solve? And of course, if you're trying to solve a personalization, a content discovery problem, then that makes sense to implement Coveo. And in a Lightning community context, we're well prepared with many Lightning components right out of the box. So hope that answers the question.
Yes, thank you. Another question we have, so in order to access so in order to have the information like the interactions with the site and the assisted support content for it to be actionable and accessible, does the AI require a customer to identify themselves?
Olivia, I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily. I mean, of course, if there is a way to get logged in information through an authentified person, of course, it will provide machine learning a little bit more information on the context and also stitch that user visit to maybe past visit he already did. So in order to further improve the experience, but still, even anonymous user will benefit greatly from machine learning, since we can still machine learning can still leverage the user action and behavior. And as for all the the search terms, action, document is being clicked by a user to perform machine learning analysis here. So even unlogged user benefit greatly from machine learning. It's not mandatory for them to be logged in to benefit from it.
Thanks, Olivier. Another question. So our data strategy is not where it needs to be. Do we need to accumulate a large customer data set prior to even considering AI and machine learning?
The first thing that is the most important thing when you go in the AI/ML path, it's actually on which data set are you going to build your machine learning model. Machine learning model is pretty much nothing without good data. So of course, yes, the first step to be taken is to make sure that you are monitoring properly your different touch point, your different domain, and that you gather the proper information from it. It doesn't need to be a ton of it. I mean, a ton of bad data is not it's not better than a little good data. So yes, this is the first step, is to make sure that you are getting the right information from the right touch point. And for that, here at Coveo, we do offer the full stack of analytics through a public API that you can reach quite easily from pretty much virtually any domain. And so using our Coveo Analytics, then you can start feeding into your Coveo organization all the proper data set, all the proper information that will be required down the road by machine learning to further improve your digital experience. So yes, this is the first step to take.
But one thing I would add though is, machine learning is essentially, it's looking at a data set and making correlations. Even with a low volume of data, machine learning will be able to learn some things. So it's obviously more ideal to have a lot more data. But even with a small amount of data, we can start to make some correlations, and so I think it's about getting started as soon as you can, so that you can set yourself up for improvement over time.
Thank you both. This is all the time that we had for today. If we didn't get to your questions, or if you have more questions, please let us know and we will follow up with you as soon as possible. So just a couple of quick reminders before we sign off. We'll send a recording to all attendees within the next 24 hours. And please remember to help us improve our future webinars by completing the brief survey at the end of this session. On behalf of Neil, Olivier, and the rest of the team, I'd like to thank you for attending our webinar, and I wish you all a great day. Thank you.
Thanks very much.